in Eleanor, June, she's going to be 96 in November. And I was telling somebody about how she has a perfect take every time. And she said to me, she was like, well, I've been doing it a long time. So, if I didn't know how to do it by now, I'm like in the wrong industry.
Sometimes my record was like 96 takes to get the Haley's Comet moment. But not often. That only happened one time. I mean,
I'm so shocked.
You got to work with June Squibb, man.
I know, exactly.
Number 3.
It's a lot of takes.
What was your first directing project, that got you your DGA card?
Oh, I just got my DGA card.
Okay.
It was an amazing moment. Really, really wonderful. And I have a lot of friends who have been in the DGA for a long time. It's a pretty well organized organization you guys have.
What was it for you, Ryan?
I think it was the first episode of that show Breaking Bad that I directed, which is called The Fly. It was like a weird episode, but that was the first kind of, the first thing where I could get a DGA card. And I grabbed it like a brass ring.
For you, Chloe?
It was Eternals.
Oh, wow. Wow. And for you?
I don't really remember. Was it Blue Valentine? I don't know. Was it? It must have been Blue Valentine. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for the support. Thank you. It was that.
I'm just full of a lot of trivia questions
Thank
for
you.
you guys. Okay.
This is your life.
Yeah. Was there a mentor, a directing mentor in your career? Either someone you watched or someone you shadowed? Scarlett, like, did you observe anyone on set and you're like, I like the way that they do things?
Many directors. I think probably Jon Favreau would be somebody that I really admire so much for many reasons. But one of the reasons I loved working with Jon and loved observing him was his ability to be, different things to different people. And to all the cast, I mean, we had when I worked with him the first time we did Iron Man 2, and the cast was, and it was an amazing cast of actors. Mickey Rourke was on it, Sam Rockwell, Robert, obviously, Gwyneth, and actors that really have all different ways of working, and some pretty extreme. And I said to him, how do you do it? How do you work with, how do you know how to talk to everybody? And he said, I really cater to each actor individually and observe, what they need, what kind of relationship they respond best to. And it's sort of like being a therapist kind of in that way. That's, was his way of putting it. And, I just thought that was really extraordinary. I mean, of course, as an actor, I only have my relationship with the director. I don't really know how they're talking to other people, but it was really great to have that insight that he really could be, it was most important to really, understand what the actor needed from him, as opposed to just, this is the way I'm directing you,
And for you, Ryan?
I wish there had been. I never really had kind of like a mentor, and I think it's that old saw that the only entry-level position on the film set is the director, and that was kind of true for me. Like, I hadn't worked in another capacity on set, so yeah, I just kind of blundered on set, wondering how to do it. And since then, I think that's why anytime I've gotten to be on the set or gotten to kind of become friends with a director I respect, like when I worked with Frank Oz as an actor, both in the Star Wars movie, but then Knives Out, and just getting to kind of hear stories from him and talk to him, I soak it up like a sponge. Yeah, I think because I never have gotten to really observe other directors working. You always wonder if you're doing it wrong, I think. Maybe that's just part of the job.
And for you, Chloe?
I think it's a shame we never get to see each other work. It really is. I was very fortunate to be at the Sundance Labs. So I was in the same year as Ryan Coogler, David Lowery, and Mario Heller, and a few others, Jonas Capignano, and we were able to watch each other work. We haven't changed that much. So that was really lovely. But I tried to convince my director friends to let me go to their set. And the only person who said yes was Denis. And but everyone else, there's a bit like, I'm shy, because to not be able to see each other work is a shame, I think. Thank you. But I did get lucky enough. I have watched the new work in post. Yeah, he let me go watch him how to do visual effects and how to work with his team that way. That was really, really helpful as I was working on Eternals. And for Hamnet, I was very lucky to have Spielberg and Sam Mendes as producers, Steven, and to mainly hearing from them of how to cast children and just whatever they could give advice. It was very amazing.
Did
Me?
you? Yes.
I've had so many mentors in my life. I feel so fortunate. I mean, first off, just like being a kid watching movies, if you study enough filmmakers, if you watch their movies enough, you can start to learn from them. But, you know, I had professors that were my mentors. My wife is like kind of my, you know, she taught me a lot about acting. I didn't know anything about acting until I met her. I was lucky enough to meet someone who knew more about it than I did. My co-writer actually on Roofman is a person named Kurt Gunn, and he was like one of my mentors. And the reason I hired him to do Roofman with me was because of that mentorship. I would never be the person I am. I think having a mentor is just so crucial. And now I have, you know, children who are like 18 and 21, and I'm like, I just want them to have a mentor, you know. And I think you can find many mentors in your life, and sometimes they can last like, you know, it's like just one thing they have to say to you can be a mentorship if you're open to it, you know. And then I think like other filmmakers, like I was talking to Chloe, I've watched The Rider so many times, and that movie like trains movies that I want to make and like teaches me how to make other movies. And
Blue Valentine influenced the writer, so I just want to say that.
yeah, it goes back and forth.
Each of your films stars heavyweight talent. How do you dialogue with them? For example, someone like June Squibb, do you just let her do her thing and you just give little nuanced, you know, is there a heavier conversation?
Yeah, I've loved being directed by actors, you know, for obvious reasons, you know, because I think you have a certain, the trust is there, you know, and the vocabulary is familiar. But I have to say, you know, I worked with a lot of different kinds of actors in this, you know, in Eleanor. June, you know, is someone who is very prepared, and she, you know, has, of course, you know, it's always great to let people do their thing first and see what they've got, you know, what their idea is, what their instincts are. You know, she has an extraordinary ability to take notes. I mean, you could pile on all notes, either continuity notes, dialogue notes, and she'll have always, like, by the third take, it's a perfect take, which is amazing. She's going to be 96 in November, and I was telling somebody about how she has a perfect take every time, one perfect take, and she said to me, she was like, well, I've been doing it a long time, so, you know, if I didn't know how to do it by now, I'm like in the wrong industry. But then, you know, I was more nervous actually to work with Chiwetel. I think I felt intimidated by him in a different kind of way, and you know, he needs a lot of information and asks a lot of questions, and you know, it was really extraordinary to watch his work evolve throughout, you know, many takes, and you know, he has ability, his ear is so sharp that his intonation is like, he can make small little changes that are so powerful. So again, I think it goes back to what John is saying, Favreau, that everybody needs their different way, you know. I mean, I work with Jessica Hecht on this as well, but she does a lot of theater, and it's different, you know, than acting for film. That actor needs a certain kind of guidance, but everybody's different, you know. Everybody's different, and that's such a pleasure.
Ryan, how is it with Daniel? Like going back to the beginning,
Nightmare.
Did he walk into the room and just have Detective Blanc, and he had the accent and he had the character?
No, Daniel's a really prepared actor anyway, and the accent, which because he's a really good actor, it feels like it's just kind of rattle off. He does a lot of prep work with his dialect coach to nail that accent, and kind of has to relearn it for each film basically, which is good because he doesn't want it to just be doing an impression of his last performance as Blanc. So it's a whole new process each time. So, and the first time was very fun. We just emailed back and forth esoteric recordings of people with different Southern accents, and it was when we struck on, oh, maybe it's like Shelby Foote. I think that was what we grabbed on. So there was a lot of back and forth, and but then yeah, in terms of the character, yeah, he shows up and we work on it, and it comes out. That was terrible. That was an awful
you did
answer.
good. You did very good.
That is it.
That was good.
And then, Chloe, you have these tender moments with Paul and Jesse in Hamnet. I'm not going to spoil too much, but there are these shots of Jesse's eyes that just say it all. How did you foster that?
I feel the casting is 70-80% of the work, and I'm pretty hands-off. I don't rehearse the scenes, but what we do is we do a lot of somatic work in prep. We do dream work. We do active imagination. We do tantric polarity workshops. We do, but all body-based. The goal is to try to connect who they are as an individual, as a person today, in their unconscious to the unconscious of Shakespeare and Aeneas, because we do believe there is an underground current that defies time and space. So there is part of Jesse and part of Paul has chosen William Shakespeare and Aeneas, and vice versa. My job is to create and use enough tools from old times and new ones to give them the space to make that connection. So once that connection is made, I give them as much freedom on set so they can be present. And we have a lot of rituals every day on set to make sure they can be present as much as possible. And we wait for the magic to happen. Sometimes the wait is scary, but we believe, and I love working with actors who have the faith and producers who are tolerant that we will get there by sunset.
How did it work with Channing and Kirsten?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what everyone up here is saying. I mean, casting is so huge. So you have to know who the person is that, so before I ever cast Channing, I spent a long time just talking with him. And once I kind of had his voice inside me, I went back to write the script with his voice. And then I offered him the script after I had spent time already kind of communing with who he was in the script, and then gave him the script. And then when you get, then more, I totally agree. I don't do like traditional rehearsals, but I try to set up like experiential situations with the actors. So like Channing and Kirsten, because they're meeting in the movie, I don't set up anything between them. But with Kirsten and her family, I spend a lot of time with them. They basically get an apartment. They basically go shopping. They make dinner. They have me over for dinner. They go on driving lessons, whatever they have to do to just kind of build in some memories so that they're connected to each other and they can play. And then you get on set and it's alive, and you can all of a sudden find life. So for instance, like any movie I've ever made, like I've part of my process is to watch the movie in my head before I get on set. And I try to do that like most days. So visualize the movie. But then when you get on set, I've seen the movie in my head. For Roofman, I'd seen it 200 times. And so when I'm like tired of that movie that I've seen in my head by the time I'm on set. So I just tell the actors to all I want them to do is surprise me and to bring something new to the table and to see something one time. And I'm always thinking about like Halley's Comet. It only like comes every 77 years. And you have to I'm just trying to find a moment that could only happen once every 77 years. Wow. And then hopefully you get it. And sometimes you can get it on one take. And sometimes my record was like 96 takes to get the Halley's Comet moment. But not often. That only happened one time. I mean, mostly it's like 3 takes, but like one time was 96 takes.
You got to work with June Squibb, man.
I know, exactly.
Number 3.
I know. I would have
That's a lot of takes.
It was not on this movie.
Here's a wild question. Have any of you ever pulled a Malick and ripped up your shot list for the day
Yes.
and just chased butterflies? Or just, hey, we're going to do something. We're going to rip up the shop list. We're going to take the camera. We're doing something else. And just to kind of, it's a creative environment.
I mean, I had 1,224 storyboards for Blue Valentine because I had spent 12 years trying to make the movie, and I just needed to make something, so I drew all the storyboards. And then when the time to shoot the movie came, yeah, I threw them away, of course. Yeah, I didn't want to be stuck to pictures. I wanted to find the new ones.
I'm so shocked because I thought I knew you.
What did I
No,
storyboard?
meaning like, yeah, because I just don't do the prep work, so not so much, not like that. I don't have I shot lists, but, they're not like that. So they're very easily teared because they're like, they're so posted. So, but I watch your films, they're so alive, and I didn't realize your process was to plan so much and then throw it away. It's
Yes.
really interesting.
Plan, be prepared. It's like preparation versus expectation is what I think. Like I think if you're expecting what to get, I think it's a very limiting place to be.
You must prep, right? Like, just
Yeah, I prep, and
you have to have that kind of cinematic shot.
yeah, I do it. Yeah, I prep, I storyboard. It's a lot of work. I don't throw it away. It's pretty, but
Just for the day,
Yeah.
not the entire production.
well, that's the thing, and that is something that that seriously I have been trying to actually like work on and get better at is when you show up on set, even if you're fully prepped, and even if you're making a movie that is to some degree like these mystery movies are, sort of a jigsaw puzzle where everything fits together, still remembering that things you guys are saying about it being alive, that's an absolutely true thing. And remembering when you show up on set, you have to be present and you have to be noticing. You can't just like focus in on what your plan was. You really do have to take in everything around you and be open to change. And so I've never deliberately just tossed it out and said, let's just
Wednesday.
run your hand over the field of grass. Yeah, but I have started to work and just let things change, things evolve, and when they change, being open to the environment around you, to the moods of your eye, to being just kind of like ready to catch those butterflies is like, yeah, it's true. It's that's something that takes a lot of confidence to do.
Now, of course, you've got your script. When you get into the editing room, can you share any moments of any kind of eureka where you came across something fresh in the footage and it just impacted you and it changed the story? Because sometimes you find something fresh in the editing room that changes your mind.
It's usually, I don't know about you guys, it's usually less eureka and more. And then all the things you're missing, and just the desperate, oh my God, this doesn't work. How are we gonna? It's all your preciousness goes out the window, I think, when you get in the cutting room, and you just have to make it work. You have to survive. It's like being in the trenches, So, and through that, I think through just the survival mechanism, you end up. That's when you get your eureka moments. But at least for me, they end up being coming out of moments of usually panic. This thing I planned out so carefully isn't working in practice. How are we going to make this work?
But I think also, for me, a very exciting discovery was the deep cuts, where you make deep cuts on something. And actually that, to me, was a huge moment of discovery. Like, oh, wait, I didn't need all of it. Just taking out like just being really aggressive and saying, what if, sometimes I think I initially, like, my hackles will go up at the suggestion of something like, well, but it's not how it goes. It's not how it was in my mind, or we put all of this work, or I love these particular moments. But then thinking about it as the experience of an audience member and not just the inside of my mind, like, I love these particular moments and I'm precious about them, was a really great exercise. I really enjoyed, actually, the process of like tightening stuff. Of course, you can always put it back. That's what you can always put it back. It doesn't go away forever. But it was really helpful actually to, when I think once you start making those like deeper cuts, you actually get excited to find other places that you can do that and like shrink time so that things are more efficient.
Can each of you share the journey of your project to the screen? You'd been wanting to direct. 1,000 scripts were thrown at you until this one came. Can you tell us about that? How Eleanor the Great came your way?
I have since I was probably like 12, thought, oh yeah, like watched Redford do it and was like, that seems like I like that job. But I think as I got older, I became more focused on learning my job and more excited about, understanding my job as an actor on a deeper level. And, and then at some point it turned into like, who would ever want that job? But this script came to me, with June attached to it. And of course I was like, what could June, what could she possibly be interested in doing? It was like so exciting to read. And I think it's very rare that I've read something and I thought, oh yeah, like I can actually see this. I know how to make it. It was a story that felt familiar to me. And, I think because it is so character driven and, New York is such a big part of the story. The Jewish identity is such a big part of the story. Forgiveness, loneliness, grief, all of those, love, really, were all things that I felt very, I felt there was both a universality to them, and then a personal understanding and desire to explore deeper with, and that's really how it came about. I mean, putting it together was a whole other ball of wax. I mean, I think I probably could have put together a bad sequel for like $180 million much more easily than like, a independent movie that stars a 95-year-old actor. And, it was a great challenge, just also because it had to be done in such a short period of time. Because when your lead actor is 94 at the time and tells you that they're ready to shoot something, you have to make it immediately.
And then Rian, to write a Knives Out movie, it's quite, it's like playing Macbeth or something. No, but it takes some time, and the whole prep for the movie. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it feels like writing's getting harder. I don't know how you. I feel like it should get easier the more you do it. I feel like this was the hardest thing I've ever written by far. It was kind of because the mystery element of it was very tricky, but mostly because it's set in a church. It's kind of about religion. It's something that is very personal to me and something that thematically I didn't want to fuck up. And so it was a lot of layers of paint and a lot of tearing it down and starting over. And it was a real process, yeah.
By the way, your brain is like not this like, I remember watching Brick and Looper, like how your brain just is from another planet. And because writing for you is very different than writing for, someone's fall in love and have a baby and baby passed away, they're sad. But like you put the puzzle that you put together since I remember Brick, I was in film school. I don't know, you guys remember that. Yes. Anyway, so it's different writing for you.
And then Chloe, tell us how Hamnet came to you.
So I was actually driving through the New Mexico desert to Telluride as a guest. And an ambulance called me and told me quickly, said, this is a project. And they told me what it is. And I said, no, because I'm not a mother. I don't know Shakespeare very well. And I don't know how to do a period piece because how can I be really present and change things last minute if everything has to be designed and pre-built? And then I got to Telluride and they said, there's an actor named Paul Mescal who would like to meet with you. I didn't know who he was. This was a few years ago. And then I met him. I just had this feeling that he could be young Shakespeare. So I read the book and I saw Jessie right away in it. So these kind of things, I also met her for the first time a day before Paul. Oh, wow. So when synchronicities like that happen, I follow the breadcrumbs, and then the more synchronicity happen, it's almost like it's chosen me. I couldn't say no to.
What was it about him that you felt there's a movie here?
Oh, I wasn't sure. I mean, I had made like a series of like deadly serious movies, and I felt like I needed to laugh like I do in my regular life a lot more. And so I was searching for an idea, and I heard the story about a guy who robbed 45 McDonald's and got 45 years in prison and then broke out and lived in a Toys R Us for 6 months. And I thought, well, if a guy who chooses to live in a toy store, that it can't be that serious, right? So, but and I was thinking like tragedy. I always loved making tragedies, but the flip side of tragedy is comedy, and they're just right there. So I was thinking maybe if like you flip that coin up in the air and it flips between tragedy and comedy, no one would know. It could be just like the same thing, one and the same. So I started talking to the guy, Jeffrey. He's in a maximum security prison right now in North Carolina. I couldn't call him. I somehow got him my number, and he started calling me. And he called me, I think we had like 400 phone calls over the last 4 years where he just told me his story, and then I talked to anyone in his life that would talk to me. And it was like an investigative journey for me. Like Jeff, he calls me Dr. Derek. Whenever I call him, he says that he's going to lay down now, and I'm going to shrink his head. And he's like a tall tale teller. It's like he's amazing to listen to. That's why I had to kind of talk to other people in his life to make sure he wasn't lying to me. And it seems like he was telling me the truth. So, yeah. But you never know if it's a movie or not until, well, I tell you, there was a moment when I knew I could make it a movie. It was when I talked to his girlfriend, because when he was hiding out in the toy store, he started dating a woman who went to a church. And I talked to her, and I had an assumption that she was probably going to be very mad at him or like bitter about it. But when I talked to her, she told me that she looked back at that time with Jeff as like a jewel of her life. And it was like the best 3 months of her life was the time that she spent with him, and that she cherished that moment, and she talked about him with such grace. And I realized that society had like judged him pretty harshly, and that so my job as the filmmaker would be not to judge him, but to deal with, to see him with grace like she did. And then she came and she was in the movie with us too. She doesn't play herself, she plays someone else. But
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. Scarlett Johansson, Rian Johnson, Chloe Zhoe, Derek Cianfrance. A big thanks to the DGA. Thank you so much.